Right, we're back, and this time we're looking at World Tour International Incident, and as always, we'll just get straight into it. So the first pairing we've got is Yokozuna of the Sumo Wrestlers up against Aramis of the Musketeers,
Big lad out first.
The biggest.
the big gun. He wants to kick us off on this.
All right, let me just read Aramis again, just to refresh myself. Very wordy, the Musketeers, aren't they? There's a lot of words and.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Yokozuna's better.
I mean, I agree.
Go to the next round, or
I agree, but it probably. I mean, that probably doesn't really give Aramis any kind of justice there, really.
No, the Musketeers are all good, but the problem is they don't have an outstanding king minion. I think
one might say the sum of their parts is greater than the individual.
That is.
Yeah, I think I did say that a few videos ago, but that's a very good point. To paraphrase me from the Astronauts video, that's very kind of you. But the Yokozuna's got too many talents, really. So it's a very easy win. But the sum of the parts is definitely greater than the individual, and I think that is, if they had one was a 5, one was a 4, and one was a 3, I think it'd make one stand out a little bit more. But really, they all work together and they work with all the other cards, and it very much is about extra actions and play on actions, and it is a good card. I was probably giving it a bit of a disservice, but being able to draw a card every single turn is, even if it was just that, plus you've got options and you can't be moved. It's just, there's too many things going on there, and it's a power 6. It's a very outstanding card. Aramis is good, but I think Yokozuna takes this one fairly easily.
Yeah, I think you summed up a lot of it there, really. Aramis is really good. It helps the chain. Basically, it's the big chain minion where you can play your Aramis and then play like 9 actions in a row and break a base. But really, you need Aramis with the other Musketeer minions, and particularly Athos, which is what we've got on the other side of the draw here. So you kind of need them both together because that's where you get the value. Just Aramis alone, you might be able to break a base solo with Aramis, but you need at least, I don't know, 9, 10 other cards where you're just chaining loads of actions and plus X amount of temporary power each turn or on that turn. So it's decent, but in this, there's just no contest here. Yokozuna is just so good for all the reasons that you set out. It's above average power. It's got 3 different abilities on the card, which is, I don't know if anything else does that. It's just phenomenal. Such a good card.
I agree entirely. It's a shame because Aramis is my play style. That is exactly how I like to play. That kind of massive chained, annoying play that just really, really frustrates everybody when you're like, oh, I'm just going to play this. Oh, I'm just going to play this. Oh, and this one as well. I love that. I just love that kind of wind up that goes with it. But yeah, in terms of card for card, Yokozuna's a better card.
Musketeers, they're not really a faction I played very much. They're probably my sort of faction, and they're a bit of a big brain.
Where
you do a lot of change and that sort of stuff. Play a lot of cards.
The problem with them is you've got to plan out so many moves in advance.
It's all set up. It's all set up.
In your head. There's always a time when you're playing against somebody who plays Musketeers where you turn to the other players and go, is his turn still going on? It's just takes ages. You can literally chain 10 cards in a row and break a base, and they're very, very powerful. It's just, there isn't a standout one minion. They do very much work together. It's all
they
for
are
one and
the
one for all.
Musketeers. Exactly. They are the Musketeers. Yeah. It's really well designed. It's a really well designed faction. It very much goes with its category very well. And that's why I quite like to play them. They're a really good support faction. A really, really good support faction. But they're also, individually, they're very strong. Sorry, together as a faction, they're very strong. Individually, they're quite weak, but together, they're very strong. That's the whole point of the Musketeers, isn't it? So
it's like loads of little micro actions that join together to make really
add one,
big.
But you can play another one. Add one, but you can play another one. Yeah. I don't know all that.
Or a card and +1 power.
Mark, did you say that these were going to be harder for us to decide this week?
I think this is going to be a much more interesting.
I think this one's tricky. I think.
I think just on the musketeers that you mentioned they're all good, but there's that one that just says you can't be affected. Isn't the one that just says you can't be affected by actions or something? That's definitely the worst for musketeer.
Yeah, there's yeah.
Wait, but
They
not
are,
every single card is good in every single faction,
yeah.
is it? And we're just saying that collectively the minions are quite good.
I know people have said Kree, Musketeers, Luke, and Leah, whenever you get it, are meant to be really good from Marvel. I mean, Kree look good with anything, to be honest, but together they're meant to be like a similar style of faction. And, it's even kind of really complicated, loads of extra plays through that pairing. So people say,
Astro Knights Musketeers are one of my favourite pairs to play because of the whole. There's just so much extra stuff going on.
Yeah,
Greeks and Musketeers is good too.
Yeah, another good faction to play. Yeah.
Okay, then. So Senor Mucho Slam and Mounty Major. So we've kind of had Mounty Major before. We've had, if you remember back to Big in Japan and Kaijuki, which was a power 4 game plus 1 power for each play-on-base action. It's a very comparable card to Mounty Major, because at the time I said Kaijuki was essentially like a King Rex, in that you'll play Kaijuki for at least 7 power. It's the same sort of argument here with Mounty Major. You're going to play Mounty Major on a base where you're going to get at least King Rex value from it, which is obviously pretty solid, but it's very linear. It's just one thing. It just does that. It's just kind of, there's not really a whole lot of complicated play or anything like that. It's a very simple, just play it down, get your King Rex value, and you're done. And that's it. It has a very high floor, but then a very low ceiling. So it's all within a very narrow range of how good the card can be. Whereas Senor Mucho Slam, I mean, it's an amazing on-play effect, and then it's also very good value from the talent for that faction particularly, just being able to constantly do that every single turn. And as you know, one of my ultimate tiebreaker is how good is the card with terraforming, and Senor Mucho Slam obviously has a lot of interaction with terraforming. So I think for me it'll go to Senor Mucho Slam here, just because I think Mounty Major is solid, but that's about the best you can say for it really. It's just very linear, very one-dimensional. Whereas Senor Mucho Slam, getting an action back from discard pile directly to your hand is very strong. You can play it that turn again potentially, but then as well being able to do, play an extra setup action or an extra action on another player's minion. Doesn't have to be a setup action, but you can do it with like fairies, for instance, or some of the other factions. So it's just good value, a very solid card.
Easy choice for me. Absolutely easy choice for me. Senor Mucho Slam. I honestly, I can't even look at Mounty Major. He makes me physically angry at how bad he is.
I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I think
it's terrible. It's terrible. It's boring. Also, it's not it's not in your control even slightly. The movement power that most factions or most newer factions certainly have now any days is countering anything that he's doing anyway. So every time I've played Mounties, I've been just left waiting to do something, and I feel like it's one of those factions where you never really do anything. And I know you speak reasonably highly of them, and after playing them recently, Mark, you sort of talking about how much you were enjoying some of the ways that they synergize with other factions, but so they're just boring to me. I'm not interested. Senor Mucho Slam.
I mean, we talked about Musketeers being, the sum being greater than the whole, or the sum of the whole is being greater than the individual parts. Mounties, like, they are, if you would have that sentence, they are the sum, they are the perfect example of that. They are exactly the sum of the parts being greater than the individual.
Oh, but I couldn't even pick out any individuals I was even remotely interested in having in a card faction that I would make myself.
I mean, we're getting on to the next side there, but I think it's scandalous that I think maybe for but I can't believe it made it as number 1 seed, and you guys are going to have to seriously,
because it's the best card in that group, and it doesn't deserve to even be talked about. Let's just move on. Senor Mucho Slam. My goodness.
When we were picking our top 3, we always do a top 3 and send them in, and I'd picked mine, and Mark had picked his, and we were just waiting on Lee to send his in, and Mark sent his to me privately, and then I sent him mine, and I put A as number 1 in my seed, and he went, it wasn't even in Mark's top 3. He said, I can't believe you put that. I went, it's a great card, and I'll tell you why in a bit, and he went, oh, well, it's a good job it's not making it in. I went, Leo put it in his top. Just trust me, he'll put it in his top. And then called it on the nose. Number 1, yeah. And I'll talk about it when we get to it, but we both like it.
You want to say anything about Senor Mucho Slam or this pairing, Luke?
Right.
I think he's good. Even if he didn't have a talent, he'd still be good. Similar to Repeater Perfect, but it goes in your hand, and he's also a 5-power minion, so
I also love the art. I love the art.
Yeah.
The whole the luchadors, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they're great.
And
Really well designed faction. Really well designed faction.
Major League.
Yeah, even if it had just one of those two, either the action into your hand or your setup actions, it'd still be good. So I think he's a very good card within the faction and in general.
You want to say anything on Mountie Major?
Yeah, I do. I think you hit the nail on the head. Low ceiling, high floor. You're pretty much guaranteed he's going to be a 5 with no ability. But can you get a couple of more? When you compare him to King Rex, you just want King Rex every time. So there isn't really a direct comparison there. I'd rather have a guaranteed 7 than a Mountie Major that could be 5, could be 6, could be 7. Hard to get above that. But I do like him as a minion, but I also don't like when your opponents can control your power and things like that. And they sort of can. They could move away or pick back up. They can do things, but
if you're playing against a swap faction, robots, penguins, that sort of thing, then to drop 1 minion to guarantee 2nd place, can be quite a solid.
Yeah. He's a decent efficiency player. Yeah, that's true.
It's reliant on the other team though, and that's my problem with it. It's reliant on the other team. Luke hit the nail on the head. Whereas Mutual Slam is entirely in your control, and to me, that's way better.
And I do like I like repeating. I like being able to get continuous value out of minions while they're on the field.
Yeah, and Senor Mutual Slam, the Lucadors have got a lot of decent actions as well. I mean, you obviously were aggrieved that what was it? Didn't make it on
Reversal.
Reversal. That's
the best card in the
slide, but
in the Luchadors.
That is a great card in Lucadors. But I mean, I think the card we've got here is the best card in Lucadors personally. But I know you disagree on that one.
Yeah, I just think reverse. We've spoken before about the Dreamer play. That is the biggest possible swing play you can get in the game. Now, does it always happen? Is it likely? Not necessarily, but that gives you a much higher swing play. I do like Kappa Roja. He was in my top 3, but I just think Reversal had the greater power of the two. But I think Kappa Roja is better than Athos in this case. So I don't dislike him at all. I think he is good. But yeah, I thought Reversal deserved to be in here, but just add it to a list of cards that I really love that you guys didn't like and should be got cheated out of being in this tournament altogether. So
we're doing another tournament. It's just cards that you think should be in, but we didn't agree.
Yeah.
Luke's favourite cards, Luke's sadness cards or something.
It's interesting to see that list versus the winners and seeing which one I personally think would win out of those.
The final, I think, would be Body Shop versus Reversing.
That'd be fun. Terraforming still makes it though. That still gets in.
Oh yeah, Terraforming definitely. So who thinks Athos should be the winner here?
Oh, it's hard because I really do like the perk he's got, and again, it synergizes so well with the Musketeers. But card for card, the Kappa Roja, is that what we're saying? Is that how we pronounce
Roja.
it? Roja.
Or the Mexican, Kappa, I should say.
Kappa Roja, me fave. In terms of it's a special. It's a play on. It's a special action. Play after the base is scored. Sorry, before the base is scored, and destroy a printed power of 3. Now, if that just said power 3, I wouldn't be interested. But printed power 3
I don't know
makes that amazing.
It could have easily been just power 3 or less.
It probably should have been because it's a power 4 minion. It's a special to play before a score, and it's printed power. And we've talked on this series about how much we like some of the amazing things like First Mate, for example. Obviously, didn't make it very far out of the rounds, but talk about things, amazing cards like First Mate that you ramp up, that you specifically target at getting more power into. But Kappa Roja counters that enormously. And when you're moving your First Mate from base to base and you've got your Dreamer play and you've pulled it off and it's at +10 and you're struggling to get it off the board because you've got nothing that can destroy that, well, yeah, you do, because that can destroy printed power 3. And there's loads more cards that you would normally have access to because of the printed power aspect of that. I think it's a wonderful card.
Yeah, I don't know why they made it printed power, because power 3 or less from each player would have been an amazing card, but they've just
as a special, any power 3, yeah.
Made it so that it's next level, really. I mean, the printed power is amazing. As you said, like, think about some of the stuff you've got. So Spartan, Microbat Alpha, First Mate, all these really good kind of finishing cards. The ones that, you know, break bases. Caparona just completely terminates them, basically. It's unbelievable.
That one for the ghosts that pretends it's Spectre, that pretends to be a 6 when you don't have the cards in your hand.
No, I think it's called the Haunting. The problem with that is it's immune to, once it is a 6, it's immune to destruction. Or at least can't be affected by the cards or something. So
I was just thinking of other good cards that have power increases with the printed power of mimics. Mimic.
It's not just power increases though; it's any faction that has power counters. Because in theory, anything, you know, mad scientists, even just your vanilla power 3 can become like a power 5, 6 of power counters, and it just completely, you know, shuts that down as well. So, and the fact you've got 2 of them as well, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this could have been more balanced, like you say, if it wasn't printed power, or if it was just one other minion, not each other player get minion. So I do think it's a great card, and I think it's better than Athos. I think the Musketeers want to be together, and in this one-on-one tournament that we're having, I don't think that gets them very far.
That's the kind of brush I've been tiring it with, I think, for the last couple of rounds of this that we've been talking about, and I do think that head to head, that's a really tough card to beat.
Yeah, I think Caparona is just unbelievable. You think about Megalodon for Sharks, which is a power 5. Before the base scores, you can destroy a minion of power 4 or less by 1 player. It's pretty comparable to Megalodon, really. That's kind of how good Caparona actually is, and I think it's a fantastic card, comfortably the best card in the faction for me. I mean, Athos is really good. We talked about Musketeers, how they need to really be played with together, and you know, it's all about chaining, and you play lots of cards, and this card is the thing that really helps to increase those +1 power increases on lots of their cards to double the power. And when you double the power of something, especially one card, it's very strong. So Athos, I think, is certainly the best of the Musketeers, but for me, there's no contest here with Caparona.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, okay.
So
far not been a particularly difficult set of discussions to have. No, you know.
Well, I think we should let Mark go first on this.
I would agree.
As the only person to not put A in their top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I know why you put it in your top 3, Luke, just because of Mythic Greek.
Well, don't give the game away.
For me, this is always Fighting Spirit Prize. It's drawing cards is what you want to do. You go through your deck fast and drawing 2 cards and play some 2+1 power counters total on your minions. You know, bundling 2 effects in together. Very good card, and we've seen those effects on 2 different cards. So we've got, you know, Mystic Studies for Wizards, which is draw 2, and I think there's maybe a Giant Ants cards or something like that, or there's other cards that just place power counters. So having both those effects together, you know, comfortable Fighting Spirit Prize for me. It's what you're going to do is get to the best cards. You want to get to Yokozuna, and Fighting Spirit Prize will just help you get there, and it'll boost the power of your minions. Okay, it's not very useful if Caparona is in play, but you know, it's still good value. Whereas A for me, I mean, I don't really know why you guys put it in. It's very, very weak card. Yeah, you can play it every turn, but it'll do nothing on most turns. Like first turn again, you play your action, then you play A, and it does nothing. And then next second turn, you play your action, you play A, and it does nothing. Third turn, you play your action, you play A, it does nothing. And even on the turns where it might do something, when a place is about to break, it probably won't matter, that +1 power. So yeah, it recurs itself, and you know, over the course of the game, you could say it's a 20+ power card, but in reality, it just doesn't. You can't make that assertion. It just doesn't work out like that.
Get him, Luke.
I'll tell you why it's amazing. So this game is built around playing actions. Half the game is playing actions. There are entire factions built around playing actions and getting benefits from playing actions. We've seen the Musketeers within this. The Greeks is another one that comes to mind. And what happens with A and Greeks and Musketeers is you get an instant action every turn. You get twice as many actions every turn, minimum. They also have extra actions within that. And for factions that like playing extra actions and give you rewards when playing extra actions, this card breaks them. It makes them work. You want this in your hand as soon as possible. Play it every time. It don't really matter about the +1 power necessarily, because that only really matters if you're breaking a base or the odd little thing like that. But being able to play an action to trigger an ability, or all the abilities or cards that are related to actions, to play it every time, basically for free, to play 2 of them every time through pretty much the entire game without being stopped. Or the Greeks have a fantastic card that lets you play it as an action every turn and put it back on the top of your deck. You're only drawing into 1 new card every time, but even that's a great card. This lets you put it back in your hand. So for card, okay, if you put it with a faction that doesn't gain anything from playing actions, yeah, it's not very good. But that's not what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at it as its strength, not as its weakness. The actual +1 power almost doesn't really matter. It may as well say trigger any action abilities every turn and put it back in your hand. And that allows you to do that twice on the cards that really enjoy that. And that's doubling what you gain from playing your actions every time. And I think that is fantastic. I do like Fighting Spirit Prize. I think we all had this in our top 3. It's just 2 great rewards bundled into 1 card. It'd be a decent, we've seen those cards where it's draw 2 cards or it's +2 power counters, like you say. But Air allows you to do those dreaming combinations that ramp up based on playing actions, and they're the unique cards in the game that allow you to come up with these fantastic combinations. Fighting Spirit Prize gives you a nice benefit, but you're not going, right, how can I break the game? How can I really ramp this strategy up? With Fighting Spirit Prize, it's just good. Whereas A allows you to come up with these fantastic combinations that work off playing actions.
I think Mythic Greeks is clouding your vision here, though. I think you overestimate how many factions actually key off playing extra action.
But even if it's just Mythic Greeks, it's worth it.
It's not better than Fighting Spirit Prize, even if it's just Mythic Greeks. It's not. Let me ask you a question. Let me put it this way: you've got in your hand, you've got 9 body shots, and you've got Fighting Spirit Prize in your top deck. You've got to discard 1 card, and you can't discard your body shots. So you've got to choose. Okay, am I discarding Fighting Spirit Prize or am I discarding A? Which one are you discarding?
Well, what am I playing? Mad Scientist?
I don't know. Whatever you're playing, you've got 9 body shots in hand as well as Prize and A.
I'm playing Greeks, so I'll take A. Okay, I'll accept that it doesn't make sense out of factions that don't get benefits from playing actions, but I'm picking my combination here. I don't play Mounties unless I'm playing them with Greeks or Musketeers or something else that has action benefits. Because of this card, I'll tell you a little story here, and it was probably the most upset I've ever been in Smash Up.
I know what story you're going to tell.
I was playing Greeks and Mounties. It was the first time I played them, and there was 3 of us, me, Lee, and another friend, and you were playing Vikings, I believe, Lee.
Oh yeah, I was.
And I saw A in my hand first, starting hand of 5. First play, he played one of the Viking cards that lets you steal an opponent's card at random. He stole A right out of my hand. The first play of the game
broke his game.
It literally killed pretty much my entire strategy. Yeah, I thought,
man, he pouted all
game.
night.
I've got this game won now, and I can't believe you did that. And that's how important it was to that combination. It basically, I couldn't get back in the game because I was ready to break it and just fly off action after action after action, and I struggled from there on out. So
I have to say, I unusually completely agree with Luke. However, I would say that card for card, Fighting Spirit Prize is the better card. It would be remiss to put A any further than it's gone. It's by far and away the best card in Mounties. The best card. Mounties are awful. They're an awful set individually. They've got come at me, comment section. I don't mind. I can take it. I'm a big boy. Fighting Spirit Prize is the better card. All right, Mounties they're not that bad. I give them no love, but I'm not interested in playing them. And when I say that a faction is bad, I don't mean it's actually bad, because obviously there's no real bad factions apart from vampires in this whole and superheroes. Sorry, apart in this whole set, in this whole game. It's as strong as what people sort of like to play. But I am not in any way excited about playing Mounties. It doesn't get me interested at all. I'd much rather play Lucadors all day, or the Musketeers all day. I'd much rather play those. Sumos, less so. But you give me Fighting Spirit Prize over 8, simply because, and unfortunately, Luke painted himself into a corner by basically saying it is so specific where A is powerful. Where it's powerful, my God, is it powerful? You could definitely boost the Greeks using A. Definitely, there's no question about it. It's a broken card and works fantastically well with that faction. Like you say, an extra 50% of the game every single turn. But outside of that, it doesn't really have a great deal of use.
And Musketeers, in fairness, and possibly Astronauts.
Yes. There's some places where you can chain it, where you can make the most of it, but there's other factions that I'd rather play with those outside of that one card, and that one card to me doesn't make enough difference in that faction. Certainly, like Musketeers, for example, where it's going to make me want to play those two as a combo. So it's Fighting Spirit Prize, because I get better face value straight away. It's guaranteed face value.
Exactly. You just and Fighting Spirit Prize is consistent value every time, whereas A is a tiny bit of value. And it's not cumulative. So every time you play A, you don't get a tiny little bit of value.
The problem with A, the problem with A is you're not playing it for the one power that you get from A. You're playing it for the extra power counter, or the extra card that you get to play, or the extra bits that you get on top of playing A. You might as well say play another action, because that's really what you're using it for. You're using it to be able to develop some part of your game that's allowing you to chain more stuff down onto more things. That's what you want it to do. But Fighting Spirit Prize is 2 power counters and 2 extra draw. It's fantastic.
Well, interestingly, if you don't get at least 2 power counters worth of benefit out of A, I'd be surprised with that, because, okay, yeah, you're using it for its action triggering, but you are also getting an extra power counter, and there will be bases that you break on your turn.
Temporary though, isn't it? It's not a power counter.
Yeah, but if you use that to break the base while you're breaking a base, I'd imagine you can contribute at least 2 power counters that are essentially permanent because you're breaking the base. So really, it's just what value you're putting on drawing 2 cards. Can you get more than 2 power counters out of it? Maybe you do. Plus, you get your action triggered. I think that they offset each other, and you're comparing, is draw 2 cards better than more than 2 power counters, maybe, and the action abilities. I'm fine for Fighting Spirit Prize to go through. I'm not going to argue about it much further, but it is the card. In, like, when you pick Pirates, you pick it for first mates. When I pick Mounties, I pick it for A with Astronauts, Musketeers, Mythic Greeks.
It's a card it's basically was included just because it's an incredibly, it's just a great flavor, isn't it? Canadians and saying A after your sentence. So that's they obviously thought of the name of the card, and this is what Canadians do. And then they were like, well, what are we going to do? And then they have to make it really weak. And I love the card because of, it's called A, and it's a great take on Canadians. But yeah, it's no contest.
We just haven't seen a card like that lets you play it every single play. And they had to make the effect small in order for it to not be broken.
Exactly.
But it brought up an interesting question when we were talking, Mark. Would you rather have a tiny action every single turn, or one medium-sized action, or an okay action? And I think I settled for I'd rather have a tiny action every single turn, because it gives you slightly more options.
I do think that plays more into your play style, though, with Greeks particularly. And I think Mark said it earlier on, you are jaded a little bit by the Greeks because you do like to play them that often, and that would work fantastically well with it. So I kind of get where you're coming from on that, and I actually agree. I entirely agree that within that particular scenario, it's fantastic. But for me, it's got to be on the better card, and the better card realistically was Fighting Spirit Prize.
Yeah, fine. I'm happy with that result. Yeah. I don't mind that. It is a good card.
Okay, so next up we've got Yokozuna and Senor Mucho Slam. So I think this is certainly going to be the more competitive semi-final. Is anyone going to say that Yokozuna is not the better card here?
My heart swings for Senor Mucho Slam, but I think realistically Yokozuna is the better card. More options and more power. The fact that you get to recycle something from a discard pile and you get to play an extra action that directly affects another player's minion is very powerful, particularly in faction. But I think the option of doing various different things and prevention of movement is very powerful. Yokozuna takes it for me.
I mean, it's tough really because you can largely ignore your minions cannot be moved by other players' cards. It's nice, but how often are you being moved and really being affected? How often are you being moved by somebody else? I think it's fairly rare. And if you want to use it specifically to counter a faction that might move you, yeah, sure. But I'm pretty much, I don't think it comes up enough to really, it's a nice bonus, but I don't think it's really particularly useful. So it's the talent really. It's draw a card every turn. If it just said that, it'd still be a good card. The thing that really makes it special for me is the move another player's minion from here to another base. And that is the control of this minion. It means that you can have your Yokozuna out for as long as possible. If people are trying to break the base, you can move them off, you can slow it down, you can keep him out longer, allowing you to use the draw a card, or allowing you to break bases that you have control over. So it might even stop them playing on that base, thus keeping him out longer and letting you use the draw a card. And you can break bases that may not be advantageous for people to be on. If you're playing something like dragons, you can move them onto the bases that they lose VP, so you can essentially control which bases are going to break to an extent. Obviously, you only move one at a time, but you get to choose the base that they go to, and I think that is strong. The 6 power on its own, even if it was just 6 printed power, it'd still be the second strongest minion in the game. It's only one behind King Rex, even without any talent or ability. And the fallback is draw a card every turn, and that is always good.
Yeah.
So I think it's incredibly strong. Senor Mucho Slam, great card. I always want to get actions from my discard pile back in my hand, and playing extra actions. I'm a fan of. You slot it in the old Greeks, and or the Musketeers, and away we go. But I think Yokozuna is very hard to beat because it offers 3 different. Choice. Yeah. It gives you so much choice of things that are very good. You're not choosing between one power till the end of the turn. You're picking from 2 good options, and the ongoing ability is quite nice as well. It might not come up much, but when it does, it will help you.
I mean, I think you made a really good point there about the Yokozuna can actually control himself. He can protect himself basically from this base being broken, and I think there's a double whammy. You mentioned about the ongoing ability not being, or it being a niche case, but in those niche cases, it's incredibly strong. And actually, there's a lot of factions that do move, they do move, and they do rely on moving your minions as well. And actually, it's that double whammy in that you can move another player's minion, and then they can't move your own minions. So actually, if you think about tornadoes, if you use that talent to move their minions to a certain base, the tornadoes rely on you moving their opponent's minions to help them break bases on the cheap. So actually, you're double whammy in there, really. You're forcing them to break a base solo, which they don't really want to be doing because they rely so much on being able to move other players' stuff. So actually, you can move them, and then you can prevent yourself being moved. And think about the other sort of fringe benefits of moving other players' minions. So Bear Cavalry is a good example of moving them into destruction. Then one of the new Marvel factions, I think, maybe they gain power. I can't remember which one. Maybe it's the Ultimates. They gain power from minions moving onto the base. It might just be your own minions though, so I can't remember if that one's applicable. But there are other examples of where cards gain power or they gain some kind of benefit from minions moving to their base. So Yokozuna can actually play into those partnerships as well. Again, I can't remember the exact wording on Funbear, for instance, but I think Funbear says whenever an opponent plays or moves a minion onto their base, or one of their minions moves onto their base, Funbear gains a power counter. So potentially, depending on the wording, Yokozuna can feed that minion as well. So there's loads of other fringe benefits for Yokozuna as well, which I think is just, it's so much value in one card. It's very difficult for anything to really compete with that kind of value. And as good as Senor Mucho Slam is, getting your strong back action back is a great effect. It doesn't really have that kind of ongoing value that Yokozuna offers. Okay, it's got a little bit of value, but there's not as many factions really outside of Liquidors that really play into playing actions on another player's minion.
I mean, think how good it would be. You'd be able to get reversal back though, wouldn't you? And play reversal twice.
True, very true. And it does offer that, the great synergy with terraforming, which is obviously the ultimate action you can get back.
Yokozuna though.
Yeah. What about A?
Yeah. Well,
A.
So in that
example, would it?
In that example,
yeah, never got to discard pile. That's another benefit. Get it back. Get it back in.
You've got 9 body shots fighting Spirit Prize in A, where you can get an A and then usually spend your Mucho Slam to get A back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then body shopping for 5 power counters.
It's good, but it's no Yokozuna. It's going to be difficult to see anything topping Yokozuna, even in the Champion of Champions tournaments. I think it's going to be difficult with what else we've got through, really.
Spoilers for the finals, mate.
Yeah.
In fairness, I think I was saying
you put Capo Roca above Yokozuna in your.
Shall we just? Do we even have to talk about this one, or shall we just put Capo Roja back up against Yokozuna?
Yeah, I think probably just put Capo Roja straight through.
Yeah, we all put Fighting Spirit Prize 3rd place. We all put Capo Roca higher than Fighting Spirit Prize in our rankings. I think it's a foregone conclusion. I put it 2. Mark put it 1. Lee, you put it 1.
Capo Roja.
I
actually think I put it 3, but I don't think I read it properly. Again, it was the. I think I missed out that it was the 3 on every player, and then when I reread that again, I think it was just a bit more powerful there. But yeah, for me, Fighting Spirit Prize is a good action, but it's not a great action, so it's not even worth talking about compared to what is essentially a great card.
I mean, when we were doing the selection, I think I said to you, Luke, that there were they're basically 2 standout cards in this expansion, the entire expansion for me, and we've got them in the final here basically as certainly the 2 best cards in the expansion. Senor Mucho Slam maybe is a solid 3rd, but that's after that it's really there's nothing really that stands out.
You're right. It's very grey after that. It's very everything's kind of synergizing well with everything else. But these, I agree. These are these are definitely the 2 standout cards in this expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just realised that I was in my head there. I was thinking Capo Roca and Fighting Spirit Prize were in the same faction, but I think we did all put Fighting Spirit Prize 3rd in the sumos.
Yeah, we
did. We all put Yokozuna 1 and then something else 2. And Kappa was my 3rd, I think. Whereas I think you 2 both put him 1.
No, I think Lee had put him in 3rd as well.
I think I had him in 3rd as well.
Okay, fine.
3rd as well.
But Body Slam, I think, was my number 2 for Sumo Wrestlers, which is a decent effect. But nothing was ever Yokozuna is so far and away better than everything else in Sumo Wrestlers, and even arguably in the expansion, that nothing was even coming close to it, really. But I think this is
tough because I mean I'll start because I have the least affinity to both of these cards, but I'm leaning. I would prefer Capo Roja to win, mostly because I feel like it's the underdog, and I just want to give the underdog that opportunity to go for it. I mean, really, for every reason that we've said, Yokozuna's probably going to win this, and that's not a bad thing because it's a great card, and this is the best card. And like you said, Mark, in terms of champions, you've got so many different options from this card that makes it a fantastically powerful card. It's ridiculous that they're giving it 6 power and then as many talents as they did. And we compare it to King Rex. This is a card that I'd probably prefer over a King Rex because not only is it nearly as powerful as King Rex, it also gives you loads of extra things that it can do. It makes King Rex look a little bit obsolete, really. It's a bit unfair. I will just give Capo Roja its due. The fact that it's a special and the fact that it can play as the base is breaking, or before it scores rather, so while it's breaking, so before it scores, you get to destroy minions of every other player's faction of printed power of 3. I mean,
what sort of swing can you get with that, Lee?
I mean, just imagine you're playing somebody, right, that's got Microbot Alpha fully powered up, and then another person that's got, I don't know, a powered up Spartan, for example, and then maybe a third person that's got, I don't know, powered up first mate, for example. You could potentially talk about a 50 power swing. Talking cautiously, a 50 power swing.
Cautiously, right? Hang on. So, let's say.
Hang on.
let's say in this argument, they are on. Realistically, they have to be on maximum 7 power each. That's generous on a 21 power base for it to not already be broken. Okay, let's say they're on 6 power each, because let's say the base is on 18. You put Caparocca down, take it to 22, and it's breaking. Okay, fair scenario.
We'll go with that.
I'll listen to the. I'll listen to what it says.
Let's see where this goes.
So then you can break it, and you can destroy them and get rid of them. And in that scenario, you win the base on your own. Now that is better. But in reversal, if you're talking power swings, you're taking 6 away, 6 from each player away. So if they've got any other minions on there at all, they'll still get victory points. But with reversal, you take their 6 away and make it your 6, so that's 12. So you eliminate one of those players guaranteed from that. So I'd rather have a 12-point swing.
Yeah, but that's only one player, though, isn't it? I don't get where that was going.
Honestly, I don't understand how you think that.
Your scenario of you've got a Microbot Alpha, a first mate, and
it's amazing, isn't it?
A Spartan.
Cautious 50-point swing.
Can't be a 50-point swing, because how can you have 50 points on a base?
That's what's happened.
Doesn't make any sense.
What's happened? You've broke the base. You've put that 4 down to break it, tip it.
Even in them all having 6 power, though, I mean, you can still destroy a 6 power from each player, so that's still 18 power. It's actually a 10 power swing for every player, so it's a 30 net power swing, which is
the thing for
that's better than taking one.
The thing for me is, I agree with you, Mark. I do agree with you, and I know Luke has a soft spot for reversal, and I don't quite understand why compared to this card.
If you do the maths, if you do the maths for me is it's not just taking the power away; it's taking the power away and adding it to yours, and I think that gives you more total power. Now there are some scenarios where you might be able to break this base on your own, like you say, but realistically,
granted, that's
taking it away and adding it to yours, I think gives you more total power than just taking away. The other thing to Caparocca, which is the downside, is if you play it too soon, they'll play around it. They won't put printed power 3 minions on there. They'll be wary about it. You've got to play it when they've already put them down, when they've already staked them. And even then they can move it away.
I accept that, but you've limited for choice. What have you got? Most factions have 2 power 4s and a power 5.
Yeah.
Every other minion card in the faction, but every other minion card is associated with that. If you're putting this down towards the end of a base breaking, even at the start of a base breaking, you've got that opportunity to be able to. I understand. Reversal's a good card. It is a good card. It's a setup action. You play it through. It's a good card. I'm not denying that at all. But to me, the Caparocca is entirely, you control it all. It's a special. It's ticking every box for me.
You don't control it all because it depends when you play it. Yokozuna, you do control.
You're in control of that? Oh, no. Yokozuna should win. Yokozuna's the better card. But I think we're talking about how exciting Caparocca is. And for me, that's why I really like it, is that I said earlier on, I said that the Mounties are rubbish. They obviously they aren't rubbish, but they don't excite me to play them. This card is an exciting card. I'm excited to play this card.
I agree. It's an exciting card, but the downside to Caparocca is you have to play it at the right time, because if you play it too soon, people just aren't going to put their printed power minions on there, because why would they put a printed power 3 down that they know is going to be destroyed at the end? They're not going to help you break the base.
I don't think they've got a lot of choice. That's my argument, is I don't think you've got a lot of choice outside of that. But I accept what you're saying. But I think we're all putting Yokozuna through anyway, aren't we?
Well, for me, Caparocca is one of the strongest power 4s in the game. I mean, we've done a few of these now, and think about how many King minions that Caparocca is better than the King minion in faction. Even talk about if you remember Wyvern for the Dragons, which had, I think, had a couple of abilities on it, and that was better than some King minions we've seen, like Monster Tornado and things like that. So Caparocca is such a good power 4 minion, easily one of the best power 4 minions in the game, and it could comfortably be a King minion for lots of different factions. Look at Mounties or whatever. Okay, doesn't fit in with the theme of it, but that ability is so unbelievably strong. And the fact that they put printed power, I still don't understand why they put printed power. It just makes it even stronger. But I think for me,
and that's what makes me almost want to say that should go through, because it is so unique in so much as how it works. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It has to be Ukazuna.
As much as I like Kappa Roja, I think it struggles from the opposite problem of Starspawn of Cthulhu. Because remember we talked about last week, Starspawn of Cthulhu is really, really good in 1v1 when you can just give one person madness. But it's way worse in like 4-player where you have to you can't really give madness to everyone because then it really dilutes what madness does. Whereas Kappa Roja is really good at 4-player, and then it progressively gets worse as the player count goes down. So in 1v1, Kappa Roja is just destroy a power 3 minion of the other player, which is still okay, but it's nowhere near as good as the 4-player value. And I think the problem that's the issue for me is that it's an amazing 4-player card, a decent 3-player card, and then it's an okay 1v1 card, or
let me float this as a scenario. So there's Luke. He's just body shopped on his first mate. He's now got 20 power on his first mate. Doesn't matter, mate. Kappa Roja is dead. How do you feel about that?
It's
body shop's useless.
Do you know what? If I've just body shopped him, he can't be destroyed. So you can't destroy him with Kappa Roja either.
That's true. He's got you. He has got you there, Lee. He has got you there.
if I've body shopped him, he's got an Uber serum on him. So you better.
Although
get on it.
In fact, on it. Body shop, you can place the power counters anywhere, so you can body shop something else and then place.
I meant the body shop to put the power counters on.
Yeah, but I don't. I pick my strongest minion that can't be destroyed, and I double its power.
Yeah, you're right. You cheat. Sorry, I forgot that you just.
I like that. I like that. Even in this tournament, body shop just beat Kappa Roja, and he's not even in it.
He didn't. Uber serum just. Oh my god, you're infuriating. You're absolutely infuriating.
So get rid of
Uber
Kappa
serum
Roja,
is what beat it. Uber serum beat it.
Body shop versus Yokozuna in the final.
Is this a unanimous
Uber
final?
serum beat it.
Are we all saying Yokozuna is the best card?
I think we are.
Yeah.
My God, I hate you so much. Can't believe I have to still talk about frigging body shop.
You brought it up.
Let it go.
You brought it up.
You lost. Let it go.
I didn't lose against Kappa Roja just then.
It's just because Yokozuna is so good. And it's going to be tough to see what will beat it in the Champion of Champions tournament.
It is too good. Taking away any of those talents, you could take away at least one of those two options and it's still good.
I think it's interesting. I think if you take away draw a card, for me, the draw a card is certainly the best thing on there. And if you take that away, the power does drop quite significantly.
Draw a card feels like when you don't want to do it feels like the moving thing should be the main focus, but when you don't need to or there's no one on your base, it's just a freebie. Feels like a free card every time. You
always have something to do. It gives you something to do all of the time, and the thing that you're doing can change depending entirely on circumstance. It's really powerful, and it's 6 power as well, just for a laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why obviously it's thematic and it's the bigger sumo, but like it could have easily been a 5. I don't know why it needed to be 6.
What cards have we got that just have a talent of draw a card? The Rockstar guy.
The Water Lily from Killer Plants.
Yeah.
The Wizard Titan can draw a card.
Wizard Titan,
a card. There's probably a few other things. There's other cards like Flufairy that can just draw a card, but it's not a talent. There's not.
They're all, and they're all significantly less power and don't have any of the other options, and they're still okay. Okay cards.
Just drawing cards. Drawing cards gets you into your better cards as well. So always having your best card, which also draws other cards, is just such a good minion for the faction.
It was kind of like they said, okay, they shouldn't have this minion on the field for too long, so let's make his power higher so that he gets scored off quicker. And that sort of makes sense, but then also doesn't, because then you want him to stay out, but then the base is more likely to break because he's doing a third of the break power pretty much.
If they wanted to make it break, why would they give it so you can move players' minions away from his base?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It just feels like they've done the 6 for a reason that I can't quite comprehend.
I think
it feels like they've gone up. They've tried to do something. They've tried to make that counterintuitive, but really, I don't know.
They've
done it, I think, for thematic reasons. Because look at him; he's the big.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
he's the big boy. Like the King Rex. Why is he a power 7? And I mean,
yeah, true. I like that we literally had a sumo wrestle versus Mexican wrestling fight for the final, and the sumo wrestler won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a decent final, but a worthy winner. There's Yokozuna's just on a power level of its own, really.
To me, I'd argue that Kappa Roja's better than some of the other finalists we've already put through, and really should go through on merit alone. But I accept that if it can't beat Yokozuna, then there's no point in putting it through.
Well, I suppose that's we're doing it on expansion, aren't we? So we can't. Although Kappa Roja could go through to the final, it's not.
It's a better card than
It's Yokozuna is. So,
better
although
than
they're just saying that there's been weaker expansions, isn't it? Really,
Mm.
if you think about good expansions, this one certainly has a couple more competitive cards. But I think it's a worthy winner.
It's a very good expansion. This, I think the themes are good. I think the cards are good. They introduce something new and something different to each one.
Yeah, they did
without gimmicks. I think that's what I like this so much for, is that they didn't bother putting gimmicks in. Whereas with the samurais and the cowboys and the burying cards and dueling and that just, again, it just complicates the game a little bit, and it makes it a bit more difficult to play with a really nice combination. Although I get that things have to change and things have to evolve. I'm not stuck in the mud in that regard. It's just nice to be able to pair traditional factions with traditional expansions and be able to play a traditional game, rather than have to talk about madness or have to talk about dueling or any of the other sort of gimmicks that come along with it.
It's just a different twist on something you already know. It's nice and familiar. Whereas, problem with dueling, I mean, we'll come on to them when we discuss it. But like, how often have you ever done dueling? You've not had to then desperately reference the rule book at the same time as doing it, or trying to frantically explain to someone how it actually works. It's not an intuitive thing in the game, really. It doesn't flow very well in the game.
You can't just read the card and understand it. You
can't just exactly. That's exactly right. To have to get the rule book out to play with one faction that does it, or two. Is it two factions? Duel, samurais and cowboys. Is it? They both duel. Yeah. So to have to get the rulebook out to just look at that, there's no other factions bury cards, no other factions. So to have to understand it to a level where you're going to be able to play it effectively. And do you know what? The Egyptians are an amazing set of cards to play, but they're so complicated with the burying that it just puts people off.
I love the Egyptians. I think they're.
I've seen you play them. I've seen you absolutely destroy using them before.
I think the issue with the Egyptians and cowboys and things like that is even if someone doesn't pick the Egyptians, but let's say you pick Vikings, you're still going to get pyramids and bases that include dueling and burying. So you either have to just get rid of those bases, or you have to explain to people how they work when those bases come out. So
exactly.
It introduces a mechanic about halfway into the game, for instance, which isn't helpful. So I think it just causes problems.
We've talked about this, but anything that slows the pace of the game down is not great for me.
But anyway,
hello. What about the winner of the Kaiju faction bracket tournament, where you basically just take the game back like 5 turns?
That doesn't slow the pace of the game down. That doesn't slow the pace of the game down for me. It slows the pace of the game down for everybody else.
Do you want me to end the meeting?
Fair.
Okay.
I thought I got you then.
I thought you got him.
No, I knew where you were.
Do you want me to end the meeting?
So predictable. So predictable.
We should have cut him off before he had a chance to reply to that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All I can hear is, I'm really sad that this is the only one I've ever won. That's basically all I'm hearing from your mouth there.
Oh, we all like you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the only one you've ever been on the winning side for.
Right, I will end it here so we can cut off the video, put down the video length. But yeah, I think we've got a worthy winner, and it's going to be a good addition to the Champion and Champions tournament. So
absolutely.
Let us know what you think down below, and we'll see you next time.